So what is Godus, you might be asking yourself? What is this game that recently came out on Steam and might be a little curious to find out the truth about it. It will consume your soul. Well, maybe that's a little harsh. Not so much consume your soul as becoming an all-empowering, all-consuming time sink. Now, with certain buildings and aspects in Goddess, it will actually take you up to several hours to be able to harvest them or use them. Before I did this review, I invested roughly about 20 hours of gameplay into it so I could really get into the game, see the pros and cons, and give you guys, everyone out there, the best review I can based off of what is clearly more of an alpha game than a true beta game would be. So, what is Godus? Well, Godus is a god game, as the name may imply, and unlike god games of the past, what is actually done is it's taken a step forward, but at the same time a step back. The peons you have running around everywhere have a free will of their own, and essentially will set up houses and buildings wherever there's a clear enough space for them to do so. They will adjust the size depending on how big of an area you have and what technology you have, build the appropriate houses at your tech level. Because this game, I'm going to call it an alpha. Flat out here, it's an alpha. Okay, boom. Because this game is an alpha, the AI will not upgrade buildings. It has issues sometimes with buildings being too close, being too far apart, and generally it's kind of wonky still. But I'm rarely sure by the time this becomes a full release or farther down the road that the AI will improve significantly. Now, with that AI issue pushed to the side for right now, the game itself kind of revolves around you grabbing these cards, which are hidden in these treasure chests that are buried across the world. Of course, you need faith to expand your influence circle, much like in Black and White, and you dig down, grab these cards, they unlock special buildings, special powers, upgrades to your buildings, allow you to essentially progress through the game. Only main downside to this that I see and that I've been having is you're going around slowly spreading out and grabbing these things. It forces you to be an extremely expansive civilization. If you wanted to play more of a small village civilization, you can't in Godus. That's one of the major flaws they have with this right now, is you have to send these massive villages set up, and you have to have them sprawling all across the map, rather than you saying wanting to have a utopia area. You can't really do that because you need your influence and you need your faith to spread across as much of the land as possible. Later on, they allow you to take control and build these totems, which generate this pocket of faith for you that allow you to go farther and farther and farther out. However, that again will require people to reach that totem and build it. And right now, if you send some people off into the wilderness to go build these totems, the ones I'm currently working on take about, I think it was 5 hours to construct, finish, and build. So it becomes, again, a very long time sink. So with that basic synopsis done, well, what about gameplay? Well, the gameplay itself is fairly intuitive. You know, left click, right click, drag, move, blah, blah, blah. You know, watts to move. Perfectly fine with that. The interface opens from the left, has all your tools, really clean, really simple. I like the way they did it, and I have to give them 2 thumbs up for that. Another issue that they might want to address, though, is the interface itself will sometimes lag. The game itself will have frame rate issues, and I'm pretty sure that has to do with the fact that it's still an alpha. But when you're having frame rate issues, sometimes your toolbar on the left will lag when you're trying to move through and grab certain skills, activate the totem, deactivate the totem. And each time you use your totem to activate it or deactivate it, it burns off some of your faith. So sometimes if you have a frame rate lag and you click it, it will actually consume a chunk of your faith, a big chunk sometimes, because the game thinks you clicked it multiple times. With that being said, that's a bug. I'm sure they'll fix it. It's not going to be in the final game. So then, what about graphics? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. The graphics itself, as you can tell, they're a stylized, very pastel. Even the swamplands, I think that's what they're called, is kind of like shades of gray with little blotches of brown and black in it. The beautification spell you get later on, which makes the land look more beautiful, it is alright. It makes it all sparkly and rainbow. Kind of makes it look like a unicorn ran through the area and took a piss on it, to be honest. And a lot of the special effects for like the fire are fairly nice. The graphics overall, you kind of get used to them. At first, you might be thinking like, "Oh God, this is kind of ugly. It looks very polygonal. It looks like a game from the 90s." And to admit it, yes, a lot of the buildings are very kind of chunky, kind of like college project stuff you'll see. But overall, it pulls all the graphics together because it stays with that theme, and it smooths out as you progress through. The early buildings look like crap because, you know, they are crap. And then the nicer buildings as you go through still keep that very primitive look from the point of view of like a graphics design. Primitive look, but it works. This game actually works pulling off these graphics, which really surprised me because when I first played it, I was thinking like, ugh, I'm going to get tired of this. But they expose you to the variety of the colors, essentially is a nice way to put it, of the terrain and how it works, and you get used to it, and you kind of end up liking it. So what about multiplayer? Well, later on, once you advance to a certain point in the game, do a few quests, expand outwards into the world, eventually you come across your multiplayer shrine. Now, what this does is, right now, when you click on it, it brings up your Steam's friend list to invite people to join you in the game. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any footage of the multiplayer setup or how it works at all because, guess what? I have no friends. No, I'm just kidding. The people, when I recorded this, there was no one online who was even able to play the game or who had it. So, let's just throw that to the side for now. I don't know what the multiplayer is going to be like, but if it's anything like the missions, I think it's going to be a much more fast-paced version of the world you're pulled into. But don't quote me on that, because I don't know quite yet. Microtransactions are what's going to be feeding this game. It's clear from the way it's set up. It's actually set up like a Facebook game would be. You can either A, spend, a couple of hours building this building, or B, pay some of these little crystals to, let's finish that building now kind of attitude. The crystals, I've only found one deposit so far, but you can dig them up in the world, and you do get them from quests. But I think it's more of like the Facebook hook, where they try to be like, hey, here's some, use them, I know you like them. And after, I think they changed it recently in 1.3, but I think it's the third or the fourth settlement, you have to pay with crystals. So as you start to go through the game and as you start to get this massive world going, you either use the crystals, which I assume you're going to buy with in real life cash, because when you click on them it says there's nothing available in the shop, or you accumulate them through like daily events or quests or whatnot. The AI bugs in this game can be crippling sometimes. I played a few of the missions where I grew my base in an unexpected way to the AI, and what happened is the AI wanted to sculpt land, but because you can't manipulate the land into your opponent's buildings anymore, which is something they patched, it would sit there and the AI was making this god-awful kind of a repeating noise of it trying to move the land, but being told no. So the AI was stuck in this constant, noisy, mind you, loop of where it was trying to do something it couldn't. Well, what else was it doing? Nothing. It was stuck so bad in an AI fault loop that I essentially was able to have free reign on the map. Now, when I realized that, on some of the missions, I actually ended up failing one because I didn't understand in 1.3 that you cannot directly attack your opponents on the missions. Annoying. And a lot of the stuff's misleading. You'll get a mission that says, destroy your enemy within the time limit. Okay, cool. So you get a big civilization going, you tell them to go attack, which they took out the little missions, which, whatever. You tell them to go, you use the old method, which would buy a totem, they would be drawn to it, and they would attack whatever building you put it on. They took that out. Okay, so how do you destroy these people within the time limit? Well, the way they changed it now is, when the time limit elapses, everyone pops out of their house and they walk towards the middle of the map and they fight each other. Main problem with that I found out that I've had is if I have this sprawling like snake-like continent where I had, you know, my house is set up, just building with the terrain perhaps, the people that are walking from the end will actually end up dying before they make it to the middle. And I had a map where I was like a 200 population person and the other dude was a 60 population person. But by the time my people got towards the middle to fight, they're already dead and dying. So I almost lost that map because I was too expansive. I don't know if this is a strategy, a part of the actual game itself they want you to have, to think about, or if it's just a stupid bug. So with all that put together, and all that, you know, kind of squished together in one giant poop ball of what's what, makes you wonder, is the game worth it? Absolutely not. I would wait probably for another 4 or 5 good patches to recommend anyone buying this game. Mind you, it's only $20, and it is access to what they consider a beta game, which in my respect, I consider it more of an alpha game with how crippling the bugs are, how underdeveloped the world is, and how many of the features are planned but not implemented. So, I would not recommend it. It will be good. You can tell by the bones of the game that it will be good. If it was released like this, God, I would definitely not recommend it to anyone. But it has a bright future. It can be something good. This is Samada, and I want to thank you for your time, as always. Thank you, thank you. And I hope you enjoyed our little show here. See you later.